Hello and welcome once again to Euroman's movie report. This week I won't do any movie reviews, but I'm gonna reflect on the films which I liked here in 2011 and the films which I didn't like. 2011 has brought us many fantastic films, and one of them was, of course, X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class was, unlike the previous X-Men films, in a way more catchy. In a way, I don't know if that's the right expression. It was more. The other X-Men films, they seemed more like. They weren't as good as X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class had good actors, a good story, and unlike, for instance, Wolverine, which, in my opinion, sucked. X-Men First Class was exciting. It had good effects, good acting, and a catching story. Another film which I personally liked was, of course, Tintin. Tintin, which had been awaited by many fans of Hergé for many years, was, as I said in my review, very good. It had its flaws like other films, but it was well put together and fantastic special effects. And of course, when we had another film of 2011 which I liked was Rise of Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was, as I mentioned in my review, a prequel to the original from 1968, which, of course, for you young people out there, starred, among others, Charlton Heston. And in this movie we see what eventually destroyed mankind, which led to the society where apes dominate, the society we saw portrayed in the 1968 version. Rise of the Apes, Planet of the Apes, it had, like Tintin, great effects and a heartwarming story, and especially the effects. And of course, another great thing about the film was Frida Pinto. She is a very beautiful woman, and we saw her in a not so good film a couple of months ago, The Immortals. But I'm going to talk about that one later. Rise of the Apes, it had also had all of these references to the original. For instance, there's a scene in the last 20 minutes of the film where, after having led this revolt from in his ape Alcatraz, Caesar, he fights with one of Brian Cox's characters. Was it one of his nephews, who's a gamekeeper at that animal Alcatraz, and then the bad guy, he has this cattle prod or taser, and then Caesar, he raises his arm to counter the evil caretaker's attack with his cattle prod, and then the guy says to Caesar, "Get your damn hands off me, you damn dirty ape." And I must say that was a great reference to the original line made by Charlton Heston in the original from 1968. And let's see, one of my least favorite films in 2011 was, of course, Abduction, starring Taylor Lautner. Abduction was boring, it was obnoxious, and Taylor Lautner, or unlike many other you viewers out there who probably feel that the obvious feel different, that Taylor Lautner, he can't act. The only reason why they made Abduction was because the producers wanted to cash in on the Twilight franchise. And luckily I didn't see any of the Twilight films, so I'm not going to talk about those. But anyway, let's see here. Another of my least favorite films was, of course, The Immortals. The Immortals, in many ways, it had been built up to be this 2011 version of 300, but The Immortals, it seems cheaper than 300, and also the whole story, the gods, for instance, in The Immortals, they look like a cheap version of the Village People, and yeah. Yes, and of course, a favorite film, a good film of 2011 was, of course, the long-awaited live motion picture of Captain America. And I must say that Captain America, it lived up to its expectations, because the acting was good, the effects were good, and it tied well into the Marvel universe. Yeah, you can catch my review of Captain America if you go into the season 3 playlist. And of course, one of the bad films of 2011 was Cowboys and Aliens. Cowboys and Aliens had been portrayed as this fantastic Western sci-fi starring Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford, big names, and directed by Jon Favreau, the guy who made the Iron Man films. But Cowboys and Aliens, which, as I said in my review, was based on some comic which came out of a couple of decades ago, the effects were good, but the film itself was totally lame. So, yeah, and I've in a way I felt cheated, because we didn't learn about where the aliens came from. We only learned that they wanted gold, and then boom, when they were defeated at the end, yeah, so that sucked. Then of course we had one of the major films of 2011 was, of course, The Help, and you can catch my review at a later date. But The Help was basically about in the 1960s, the South in the 1960s in the United States, where we had these African American women who worked as almost slave-like conditions as maids and childcare assistants for racist rich white people in the southern United States. It was a strong, heartwarming, and powerful tale, and that was one of my favorite movies of 2011. One of the worst, of course, was New Year's Eve, starring the two most terrible actors in Hollywood, Katherine Heigl and Ashton Kutcher. It was one of these dumpy and romantic comedies where those two fought around and with idiotic comments, and you can catch my review of New Year's Eve. And as I said, it was one of my least favorite movies. But basically, 2011 was a great year for films, and 2012 will be even better. We will have the Margaret Thatcher film, we will have the J. Edgar film, we will have, of course, the Avengers, and the two Lincoln films, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, the sci-fi version, and of course the big screen Abraham Lincoln film starring Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln, which will arrive this summer. And Yeah, and in a couple of months we will have Wrath of the Titans, the direct sequel to Clash of the Titans, starring Liam Neeson and Sam Worthington. But yeah, and you of course I will return in 2012 with a review of Real Steel. Until then, this is Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report, signing off and wishing every one of my viewers a happy new year, and I'll see you in 2012. Take care.